Hi everybody, this is Todd Olthoff from toddolthoff.com coming back at you with another screencast. And this week we're going to talk about the contacts service on Mountain Lion server. Now, contacts is something that many of us use all the time. We have our address books where we keep all of our information about people's phone numbers and addresses and all of those kinds of things that we want to use. And so on Apple's server, you can have your own contacts server. So that what happens is you've got a centralized place to put all of your contacts, and those end up being run from your server. Now, for many of us, we might use iCloud for our contacts, which allows us to sync the contacts between all of our devices. And for some of us, using that, or maybe Google's contact service is fine for keeping all of our devices in sync. But sometimes it's nice to be able to have your own contact server where this server will keep all of your different devices in sync. This is similar to iCloud in that sense. And then you have full control over the server and directory service. Now, obviously, servers set up for being run in corporate environments as well. And so if you've ever worked in a corporation or a business, you've had a directory of different contacts and things that are sitting on your business's server that you would then plug your devices into and have access to those things. And Contact Server here does basically the same thing. Now, here we are on the contact server window, and as you can see, it's a very simple interface. We've got our typical on-off switch that we always see, and then we have basically one setting. So this is a very simple service to get going. So let's talk about it for a minute. And you'll notice I don't have it started. There's no green dot, and it's not on yet. So the one setting you've got is to include directory contacts in search, so that when you're searching for things, your different directory users that you've got and contacts that are sitting in your open directory will be searchable. For me, I'm just going to leave that blank for right now because I just want to show you how the service works, and I'm just going to throw this switch here to get it started. And as you can see down below, it's starting the contact service up. As I've said in other screencasts, when this is moving and the scrolling wheel's going, you don't want to interrupt the service because it means that the server is thinking. So it's going to go out and set these things up. And you notice it's writing Profile Manager settings as well. And that's something that's important because as we look at setting up Profile Manager, it's automatically including whatever settings you have into that Profile Manager service. So let me just, right now, while this is setting up, let me just show you where that shows up. If you click Profile Manager right here, as I've shown you before, you'll notice that I've got services here that are set up, and this relates to the things on the side that Profile Manager would set up. File sharing doesn't show up over there because it's not a normal service that would just be set up with a user. It's something you would log into later. Same with DNS and Open Directory. Those are behind the scenes type of services. But these services that you can configure, things like calendar, contacts, messages, those kinds of things, will show up here. And you can see that contacts now has shown up in our main configuration service that we would send out to everybody who wanted to connect to our server. And so I'll show you later how Profile Manager can do all the setup for you that we would normally do manually, but for this screencast I'm going to show you how to do it manually. So let's go back to Contacts for a minute. So now we can see that Contacts is ready to go. It's all set, it's on. We've got the green light and the service is ready to go. Okay, so now what I want to do is then I'm going to show you how to set this up. So let me just put the server screen down here for a minute, and I'm going to pull up System Preferences, which you can get to from the Apple menu and just click System Preferences right over here. So when you're inside System Preferences, what you want to do is go to this Mail, Contacts, and Calendars area here, and you're going to want to set up your server and add it in there. Now, before when we did Calendar, for those of you that watched the previous session, I had server already set up. I deleted it to start over just so that I can show other people how to make this work for those who may be just coming to Contacts without having viewed the Calendars one. So you just click Add Another Account. And you can see those of you that already had your server set up from the last one, you're going to want to just maybe click this Add LDAP account. Let me just show you real quick what that looks like. And what you would do is then put in your information on your server here. Again, like I said, I'm going to start over for those who haven't seen this yet. So you want to add an OS X server account because you're going to do it right off of your server. And click Create. Now it's going to bring up any nearby servers that you've got. So the server you have in your local network will show up here. If for some reason your server doesn't show up here, you just come down below and put in your server address, like server.joe.private or server.joe.com or whatever it is. You would put that in there. A little tip here, just to point out that to do this, your server must be running Lion or newer for you to be able to make this work, to be able to use this. And so again, since we're using Mountain Lion, it's not a problem, but just wanted to make that note there in case you were running some legacy software. So let's just click Continue. And now here you're going to put in your full name in this first line. And that's the name of the person you're setting the computer up for. Then your account name down here, which is your short name that you put in the server when we did the users and groups tutorial. And then you put in your password to get it set up. And then you just click the setup button here. And it's going to verify your credentials. And then it shows you all of the services that are available to use. And so you'll notice because we set up calendars and reminders last time, it's showing up here. If you're just doing contacts and you haven't set up any other service yet, you'll only see contacts here. I just wanted to point that out in case you got confused. So once we're done with that, we just click Add Account. And what it does now is it goes and it adds these accounts to my system. All right, so it knows my name and information up here. It's got these two services are checked, which means they're enabled. And if you look over here, you can see that it shows contacts and one more service, which basically is the calendar service. So now I know that my contact service is all set up. And so when you look at my contacts here, you can see I've got all contacts selected, but you notice now I've got all OS 10 contacts for my server showing up right here. And so it gives me all the information of those things. And so you'll notice I've got my all contacts, I've got those that are on my Mac, and then I've got those contacts that are on my server. The things that we've added and put on the server specifically because we want access to those. So those are the different things. These are things I added on my Mac, and these are the ones I added on my service. And then you've got, directory services, which I didn't set up directory services when I started it, but it would show here if I had a directory service that was put together. And again, one of the things you can do is you could use directory services as kind of a shared address book too. Again, that's when you're dealing with a corporate situation, but since we're just doing home users, this is what you want to use right here, and it'll show your contacts that are on the server. So now what I want to do is I'm going to do a screen share for a second with another computer I've got just to show you the differences between what happens when you sign up on the server and when you sign up on the outside. So let me show you that here. Okay, now I created a screen share here just so I can kind of give you a feel for what happens on the server and how the address books do or don't link up, because I think sometimes there's confusion around how that works. If you'll look here, you'll see that I've got my all OS 10 server set up here. And so I've clicked on that. You can tell what you've clicked on by the blue, and you can see all my list of contacts right here. All right, so I've got those listed in this section. But you'll notice I'm up here. I'm also on a screen share, so this is on a separate account on my network, that this also has all OS 10 server contacts highlighted, and there's nothing there. Now, the important thing to remember is that when we set up our contacts list, we logged in as our individual users. So basically all that means is that our address book sits on the server, but that means though that we each have separate accounts on the server for our individual address books. So anything that I put in my address book on the server doesn't mean that that's going to show up in everybody else's. In fact, it won't, because I'm logged on as me. That when I set up that particular account, it was set up for me, and when this person set up their account, it was for them. So I wanted to show you that to show you that those things will not sync that way. Now, if you said, well, what if I want to share an address book with my whole family? I want all of us to have the same address book so that we can just kind of put our names in there and everybody will make it work. Kind of like on iCloud, right? If you were to share an address book in iCloud. So can you do that with server? Well, yes, you can, but you've got to do a couple of different things to make that work. So let me put these contact lists down here, and what I'm going to do is pull server back up. And what I've done in server is I've gone right into my user accounts over here. You want to add a new account if you want this to happen. And so you come in here and you put in the full name of it. And maybe you want to add it as, contacts is what you want to put as the user. And so we're going to leave contacts there. You'll put in, you don't need an email address. You can put in a password. Okay, so you put that in. And leave it alone. You say, okay, you don't need it to administer servers or anything else, but you put this particular information in here, and that will set up a new user called contacts. Okay, now when you do that and you get this set and you say done and you set up that account, what you're going to want to do, let me just come in and pull up system preferences again. What you're going to want to do is come in here back where we were, and you can see it has my particular account details on there. You're going to want to add the account that says contacts. So if you were again to come in here and click a plus, add another account, you'd add something from the server, click create. And this is my server, so I'm going to continue. And then in here we would put contacts just like we did on the other. And then the short name of contacts, and then whatever password you put in. And you'd click setup, and when you're done, that then would be the contact list that would show up that you would share, so that anything you put inside that contact list on your server would then be available to everybody else logged in to that contact list. And that's how you can do it for a family. If you just want to share your address book among all the family members, that's what you would do to connect that to the server, and then that way all those same names and stuff get shared across everybody's computers. Okay, so that gives you a feel for how that works. You can set it up with individual accounts, or you can set it up with shared contacts accounts, or if you really wanted to, you could set up both so that individuals would have their own accounts on the server and they would have these shared contact accounts as well that you could share together in case you just wanted to keep certain things separate or not. So that gives you a good feel and an idea of how to set up Mountain Lion Server's contact service. Hopefully that helps you get started with that, especially for home users. It works too for corporate users as well. And that's how you get it going. So that's all I have for this week. I'll come back at you next week with another screencast to help you learn how to do more things with your Mac.